Hey cousins, welcome to Brown Liquor and Bad Ideas.
Welcome, cousins, to this episode of Brown Liquor and Bad Ideas. I'm your host, Cornell Wright, the People's Lobbyist, and so today we're going to talk about constitutional considerations. Brown Liquor and Bad Ideas is intended for the participation of responsible adults of legal drinking age who wish to engage in substantive virtual discussions and social drinking for entertainment purposes only. Brown Liquor and Bad Ideas does not advocate the abuse of alcoholic beverages. Choosing to participate in any of the drinking activities shared in the program should be made with moderation and caution and is the sole responsibility of the user. So cousins, this episode is kind of an anniversary of sorts because it was last year on June 21st that I launched my first episode of Brown Liquor and Bad Ideas. And for those of you who want to go and set the Wayback Machine, you get a chance to see those. They're still out on YouTube. And I really want to thank all the good, fine people at Baobab Tree Studios for helping me with the production quality and enhancing it and making it so much better over this past year. And I need to ask them for their continued support. Someone needs yours to help ask them for theirs. You know what I mean, cousins? So with that, I want to say that this is the reason I started this back that last year on the day of the Constitution being ratified. That is the June 21st, 1788 was the actual ratification. And this past last Monday was the anniversary of that. I started because I looked at the Constitution and I said, hey, the preamble of the Constitution I think is fantastic. And so as I did then, let me read for you once again the preamble of the Constitution. It says, "We the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America." Now, cousin, those are the words that are the preamble, the beginning, the framing, if you will, of the Constitution for the United States. And since those times in 1788, the Constitution has gone through a number of modifications, improvements, and being more considerate for what needs to happen and how our world and our country have changed. I would submit to you, cousins, that that foundational document established our three primary branches of government, among other things, and those being the legislative, the executive, and the judicial. So I did a little research for you, cousins. I looked at, so what is the oath of office for those members of the legislative branches, right? The Congress and the House of Representatives. And their oath reads something like this, to be exact. "I do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support, and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties of my office, this office on which I am about to enter. So help me God." So cousins, that's the oath of office that all the members of our Congress took. And they were the ones, in fact, they're responsible for running our federal government. They're the ones who are on the highest level of our government in charge for helping to make sure we're all doing okay. Of course, the president also takes an oath, as do the members of the Supreme Court who represent the judicial system and all the other members. Those oaths, I think, are very significant because that starts to establish that framework for how people are supposed to work, how they're supposed to engage, how they're supposed to protect us cousins, right? So as a result of that, we start looking and say, wow, are we really are people really acting in the way that's best for our cousins? Now, we've talked about this over some 56 episodes, and next week we're going to have our culmination, if you will, kind of summary of season 2. And so we've had an amazing exposure and identification of where our country is, haven't we? Think about all the things we've been through. And more specifically, let's talk about January 6th. I consider January 6th is going to be a day that's going to live in our history for a long time if we allow it to. By being allowing to, and we'll explain more next week, is January 6th were people who were attempting to do what? To subvert the Constitution of the United States within our own shores. They were fellow cousins. They obviously had a different view about what that preamble meant than you and I do. I happen to think they were wrong. And so as a result of that, democracy, which is what we hold cherished and what we hold dear, what we also present to the rest of the world, is not something that is one on automatic pilot, nor is something that doesn't need to be tended to and worked on. Cousins, we have to be engaged. We have to continue to be engaged and to understand that democracy, although it is an experiment within all the government types within our world at this point in time, and one of the few that's the best example, we have to work very hard to continue to maintain that. Because there are people within our country, let's not call them cousins, but they don't care about democracy or one of the things that the preamble of the Constitution really offers, because that includes all of us and their concepts don't. You got that, cousins? All of us versus a few of us. I think all of us is better because that covers all of you and that covers me. And I'm drinking to all of us. Because when you think about it, cousins, you really start to skinny it down. When the preamble of the Constitution said, we the people, doesn't that really mean all of us? So next time you hear something or somebody's talking about something and you say to yourself, does that meet the all of us test? If all of us can't be included in that, then maybe that's not the right thing. Okay? Now, certainly we understand and recognize that if somebody does for something for people in Montana and I don't live in Montana, that's not going to cover me. But if it does cover the cousins there, it should cover everybody and everybody gets taken care of. Not in a negative, but in a positive. We'll talk about that in the next episodes and future episodes as well, as to how people are starting to skinny and change things and start to say, well, gee, maybe this is kind of like this piece, but then what they're really talking about is a much broader picture, but they're only talking to us about this piece. You know what I'm saying, cousins? So the question is, what's going on? And is our Constitution and our democracy still being fulfilled? Are we still doing the right things? So we need to maintain that. I believe that we are at this point in time. I believe we have been challenged. I believe we continue to be challenged. And so tell you what, cousins, let's talk it out. Let's drink it out. And for some of my more prayerful cousins, let's pray it out. And we're going to work this thing out together. We the people. You take care of the next episode of Brown Liquor and Bad Ideas. Look forward to take care of yourself. Continue wearing your mask for those who need it. Why? Because some of you still haven't gotten to the point of herd immunity, even though things are starting to be loosened up. Vermont, you're number one. Something like 83 or 87% of the estimated population of Vermont has been vaccinated. Beautiful. Okay, beautiful. So you take care of yourselves, Vermont. You're number one. The rest of us, we're falling somewhere behind. Get your vaccination. Keep wearing your mask because you know every cousin didn't tell you the truth about that. All right, take care. We'll see you next week on Brown Liquor and Bad Ideas. Cousins, I forgot something. In middle of June, it will be our first full calendar year and the beginning of our third season. I've often asked you to become more involved with political activities and more involved with how our country works because we are the people. But cousins, I need you also to ask you to help me now because we need to grow our subscribers. So go out and talk to 3 of your friends, have them subscribe, and then we can get to a magic number of 250 by our first annual anniversary. Can you do that for me, cousins? All right, thanks a lot, and you take care of yourselves.
We are the people.